We are the Keyboard Samurai, a podcast focused on sharing insights to help those working in cybersecurity companies, be them technology or services. Each session, your host, Will Klusovsky, aka Will Clue, sits down with professionals in our industry to illuminate topics that will help your security biz, team, or self be better. Let's hack into it now. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Keyboard Samurai Podcast. Will here. As always, like and subscribe so you can get this stuff every weekend, or when I drop these every week, I should say. And today, I got special guest, Rock. How you doing, man?
Doing great, Will. Thanks. How you doing?
Outstanding. So why don't you give everybody the 30-second overview of who you are and why we care?
Well, I don't know why you care, but I'm Rock Lambros. I'm the CEO and founder of Rock Cyber. I've been in tech for about 30 years, in cybersecurity for about 25. Based here in Denver, Colorado, do a lot of fractional CISO risk assessment, compliance type of work, but the last couple of years really neck deep into AI security and governance, and I'm very involved with the OWASP AI security initiatives, both on the OWASP AI exchange side, which looks to operationalize aspects of the EU AI Act, and then also with the OWASP Gen AI security project, particularly in the agentic security workstream.
Oh, nice. That's crazy. I'm a big fan of agentic, at least in what we're seeing from it. Especially the ones that are good enough to show you how they learn and make decisions so that you can correct if you need to. So we're chatting AI for security leaders. You know, let's just ask the question, what is it about security and AI that leaders need to know?
Well, I mean, I think what we're seeing a trend of like business leaders just saying AI all the things, right? Because of FOMO, right? Like, you know, keep it up with the Joneses, insert whatever cliche you want to insert here. And, you know, that is why I think we're seeing such high failure rates as reported with the AI pilots, right? We've seen numbers from 80 to 95% failure rates of AI pilots. The 95% number is a little sketchy. That's another podcast to go into that, but high failure rates regardless. Right. So, you know, I was speaking at a conference this past week and I'm like, Shadow IT ain't got nothing on Shadow AI.
No.
Right. And that brings in additional attack surface, compliance risk, wasted spend. You know, if you're building your own models, training those models are not cheap. And then to get to the end of the pilot because you haven't been tracking KPIs or metrics along the way to see if it's achieving value, and have to tell your CEO that we spent, I don't know, $2 to $5 million training a model, and you've got to ditch it, right? Because to succeed, that's at minimum a very difficult conversation to have. At worst, maybe a resume generating event. So, yeah.
Resume generating event. I like that. I'm going to use that. Well, you mentioned governance, which is something that, because I've experienced the same thing. We, the meme that's been going around lately that it has the like group of people. It's like, what do we want? And it says CEOs, AI. When do we want it? Now. What if it's for? We don't know. Like we just want it. But I've had a lot of, you know, like you in the consulting space, right? Like clients are like, well, we want to use AI. And my first question is, do you know what you want to use it for? Right? Have you go to the business and be like, what do you want to use it for? Do an assessment, identify the risks around it, create some governance, give it some rails, and then educate everybody. Because like you said, shadow AI is a thing. I've talked to people like, well, we're not using AI. Oh, you are. Like
Absolutely. Are you using Adobe? Well, guess what? Right.
Or your employees, they have their own ChatGPT or Gemini account that they're using. Even if you lock it down, they got these little things here. So with all of that, like what's your recommendations then from that aspect?
Well, honestly, it's building. You need to build kind of an integrated strategy and governance program, right? So you need to understand, like you mentioned, right? What are your use cases? How are they going to affect the business? Are they driving costs? Are they increasing revenue, generating new revenue streams? Are they what's the expectation of it? Are they increasing customer satisfaction scores, stickiness, whatever that case may be? And then how are you tracking against it? And, a very good friend of mine, Malcolm Harkins, and I quote him all the time and I steal it all the time. He said that from a cybersecurity standpoint, we don't put guardrails in place. We don't put high-end brakes on a Ferrari to slow you down. We put high-end brakes on a Ferrari to allow you to drive it really fast, really safely. And we need to take the same approach with, these AI rollouts and AI security in general, because the business is going to move at the speed of business. And we need our compliance and governance programs to enable that speed, not slow it down, right? Put the guardrails up, give it nice fat bumpers so it doesn't go, careening off a cliff, but allow for a lot of flexibility within those guardrails.
I love that, and I don't remember who I heard the analogy from. I heard the brakes on a car analogy, and I've modified it to brakes on a race car. So it's kind of what you said, that whole, because again, nobody buys a car for the safety stuff, features, right? But the business's job is to go fast. And when they go on 200 miles an hour in a corner, when they tap the brakes, they want it to work, right? So, one of those, security should be boring. You shouldn't be, if it's exciting, then you're probably doing a lot of response that you don't want to be doing.
Yeah, I played football in high school. That's kind of how I got my nickname Rock. And I played offensive line. If people knew your name, it was because you were doing something wrong, right? Yeah. Right? Holding, offsides, whatever the case may be, it was a penalty. So that's kind of like how we are in the security and governance space.
That's funny. I like that. I'm gonna adopt that one too going forward.
Right.
So what are you? So you mentioned the OWASP stuff. That to me is super interesting. What's that look like?
Oh, so OWASP is. I mean, I love it. I'm also pretty biased. There are other great groups out there like Cloud Security Alliance and SANS are both doing a lot of great work around the space as well. I love OWASP. It's 100% volunteer driven. We've put out a ton of great content and resources. OWASP is most well known for their top 10 list, right?
Yep.
The web and mobile app top 10s, all that kind of stuff. In 2024, came out with the first top 10 vulnerability list for LLMs. Immediately got updated for 25. We're about to kick off that initiative again. On the agentic security side, we are actively working on the top 10 for agentic AI security. And if people want to go contribute, go to genai.owasp.org, sign up to the Slack. You'll see the work streams in there. We are actively reviewing like the draft submissions right now. And it's fulfilling to see how often the material that we work on is referenced as almost like a de facto standard across the industry. And we're having a true impact. And again, it's 100% volunteer driven, and there's no shame, meaning like go in the Slack, learn, contribute, lurk. You can be as active or lurk and just learn from the conversations as you want, right? And that's what I love about it. And the people who are very passionate and willing to share their knowledge.
It's interesting you mentioned it, like the framework, because I did a post a couple weeks ago, like kind of giving the whole I hate the word best practices, and so I was like, it's not best practices. You need a framework. Here's like 20 of them that you can choose from, and of course, OWASP was on there because you have to have a map if you're gonna or something to guide yourself against. So yeah. I'm curious, what kind of things, like from an agentic AI stuff, what kind of I don't want the top 10 list, but yeah, what kind of things are you finding? What kind of stuff is showing up there?
Oh, absolutely. Like a big one is the identity around the agents, right? And validating identity, right? Like how, least privilege, like that's never gone away, right? So how do you scope down those scopes, right? Right now we have OAuth 2.0. That's probably our best bet. Maybe not the best thing moving forward. There's a lot of research in that regard. then cascading hallucinations, right? So now if you're talking about a multi-agentic pattern, where you've got several agents in a chain doing things, if there's a hallucination or a failure in one agent in the chain, it could cascade throughout the rest of the chain. So think of it as the telephone game we used to play as kids, right? Where, somebody whispered in your ear one message, and then at the beginning of the chain, and then you turned around to your friend and whispered a message in their ear. And by the time the message got to, the 10th or 20th person down the chain, it was completely different, like than the original message. And we see that type of stuff with agentic AI as well. Behavior misalignment, right? Poisoning, tool poisoning, especially now with MCP. And we've seen MCP incidents. I happened to speak about that this past weekend, so it's kind of top of mind. Around, GitHub had a big one earlier this year. WhatsApp had a big one earlier this year. We just saw the first intentional malicious MCP server drop a couple weeks ago as part of the whole NPM supply chain attack thing. So, I want to say, there are a lot of similarities between, traditional cybersecurity and AI security, but there are definitely special concerns on the AI security side, particularly the LLM security side around, like we've never had to worry about biases. We've never had to worry about determinism or non-determinism, as the case may be. Right? Red teaming an LLM is a completely different ball game than red teaming a traditional network system application, right? Because in a traditional test, your test, your exploit works or doesn't work, right? In an LLM world, because of the non-deterministic nature of it, you can give it a prompt 10 times and it'll give you a response 10 times. The same response 10 times, but on the 11th might give you a slightly different response. And so, like, what is good enough with regards to testing, right? How do you tweak the prompts accordingly to try and get the LLM to break? How do you do that in kind of like a slow, almost like gradient fashion to do so? It's a totally different ballgame and totally different challenges there.
That's crazy. How do you, like, I'm just thinking about, like, if I want to buy agentic AI for my SOC, like, what kind of stuff do I need to be, like, I think about the whole systems acquisitions process, right? The whole procurement process, or I get the security people involved up front. Well, now the security people are buying the tool. What's that checklist look like for them when they're thinking about, agentic AI?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is ultimately it depends. But like top of mind, the things that you should ask, and it depends on your risk profile, right? And your specific use cases. But the top of mind things you should ask are, what's the model driving the agent? Is it local? Is it an API backend to one of the frontier models like OpenAI or Anthropic? If so, is that data being shared? How's your data being siloed, right? Are there, what type of data is the LLM engine using? Is it identifiable to you? Are they using any privacy enhanced technologies to anonymize or pseudonymize your data, right? Do you even need AI, right? That's a different question. In the SOC, you do, right? But like if we go back to general use cases, is AI even the right solution, or is it just RPA, basic robotic process automation? How often are your agent providers red teaming their own internal stuff, right? How are they doing, how are they identifying model drift, bias testing, all that kind of stuff? And how would you incorporate that into your environment? Because presumably you're deploying the agents into your environment. Whether you're buying or building, these are all things that you need to consider. And OWASP actually has a great guide around securing agentic applications that was released probably about a month, maybe a month and a half ago or so. It's fantastic with regards to if you're actually developing your own agents. And I have an ebook on my website around kind of like third-party risk management for CISOs with regards to bringing AI within the organizations.
Yeah, I was going to say it almost sounds like we need a a framework for that, because we have frameworks and tooling for that out there. I mean, SOC 2 for what it is, regardless of how good you think it is or isn't, like, it exists for a reason, right? But all those, again, within the third party risk, there's all those flow downs. Hey, if you got an ISO 27001 statement, cool, you don't have to answer the questionnaire every year. All of these kinds of things that we do. And it seems like, yeah, if you're in the AI space, you need to be thinking about that and being able to answer up and be like, because as somebody, when I was way back in my days, when I was doing like business analyst, product management type of stuff, we're looking at whether it's COTS off the shelf or stuff, or whether it's a product you buy. There's a bunch of questions, like you said. Do you do patching, and how do you find vulnerabilities in your code? Are you testing throughout the SDLC or now the DevSecOps process, right? So now there needs to be a whole list of requirements for AI purchases, I think.
Yep. And are you ready to consume it in-house, right? Because again, if you're deploying the models in-house, how are you identifying model drift? How are you identifying if biases start to creep up in the data, particularly if you're using it outside of the security scope, but to make business decisions, right? To, to make potentially high risk decisions, right? I live in Colorado, so we have the first in nation, Colorado or AI bill, right? The Colorado AI Act, or whatever they're calling it today. And, but that keeps getting postponed because of some of the difficulties around how they're going to kind of enforce it here in the state. But high risk decisions include things like hiring decisions, right? That type of stuff. So, so how are you going to continue to test that internally? Because I think at the end of the day, if you cause harm to an individual as a result of your use of AI, whether you built it or deployed it, you're going to be held somewhat liable, right? And the U.S. court system's starting to figure all that stuff out.
Yeah, I know here in Pennsylvania, at least the state itself, they have requirements around, like, if it can't make hiring decisions. It can't impact any, like, if it has an impact on a person's life, like hiring decisions or anything financial, like, a human has to be in the loop. Like, that's absolutely like the required way to implement it. Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like, we're talking about AI agents, right? Human in the loop doesn't scale. So another thing you have to consider is, like, what's the threshold for a risky activity or an anomalous activity from your agents to trigger human in the loop review? Like, that could be, it pauses until, like, some Slack message is approved, or, what kind of kill switches do you build into that agent ecosystem to be able to kind of maintain that human in the loop, but at scale.
Yeah, that's a tough cookie to eat, I guess.
Yeah.
So thinking about this as a business leader, I guess, what's your general, like, let's give somebody something to take away, their general guidance here when looking at AI. What are you going to tell them?
Embrace it. I'm all in, even though I'm a security guy and have to figure out how to wrap our collective arms around it to keep AI safe and responsible, but embrace it. Peter Diamandis, famous, like, Silicon Valley investor, has a famous quote floating out there. By 2031, I think that's the date he said, there'll be two types of companies out there: the ones who have embraced AI and the ones that no longer exist. And I think that also is apropos from an individual standpoint. A lot of people worried about losing their jobs to AI. No, you're going to lose your job if you don't embrace and kind of reskill yourself to be able to use it. I'm not saying you're going to be a deep technical expert AI developer or engineer, but how do you use it within your organization and within your job function? And how do you do so effectively and efficiently? And can you think and have the imagination to say, how could I leverage AI in the business, and what areas of the business could I leverage AI? How do I pilot it? How do I test it? How do I measure any value derived from it? And just go in, but have a strategy and a framework for evaluating those use cases around it, and then build out your integrated governance program as a result. from your policy creations to how you're going to adapt and run it and evolve and train your users and have that continuous feedback loop to learn from your lessons in your AI deployments and government strategies.
That's outstanding. I know I use it every day. That's just where I'm at this point. And learning how to use it was so much fun, actually. So it surprises me every day. So Rock, I could talk to you forever, but I can't. So if people want to find you on the interwebs, where can they find you?
I'm the only Rock Lambros on LinkedIn, so that's easy. Also rockcyber.com. And genai.owasp.org. I'm in that Slack channel as well.
Outstanding, Rock. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Thank you. Good talking. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for enjoying Keyboard Samurai Podcast. If you'd like to engage, find Will on LinkedIn at /WillClue or visit at willclue.me. That's WILKLU.me for more info. Disconnecting now. Synac you later.